Hey guys, what's up? So today what I want to talk about is shoe selection and foot health. If you look around at a lot of people these days, you will see a lot of people with flat feet and you'll see a lot of people that have toes that are scrunched up and stacked on top of one another. This is not good for foot health. Your feet are the bottom support for your entire body. If your feet become compromised, if you lose your arches, if your toes cannot push down into the ground like they're supposed to, you're going to lose support in your knees, you're going to lose support in your hips, which is going to impact your low back and impact your shoulders as well. So I'm going to look at a few different brands of shoes across a couple of different modalities of use. We're going to talk about why one might be better than the other. So I want to start with running or walking. Most people who just walk around or run around as a form of exercise will typically go for a brand of shoes like this. This is a brand that I own, the Nike Pegasus. I really don't have much of a gripe with these shoes. I've ran hundreds of miles in them. I've walked around in them countless numbers of days, and I've worked out in them as well. The thing about these shoes that I will critique is they have a high heel drop. So that's the distance that the heel is elevated over top of the toes. So there is like you're standing on top of a wedge, okay? Which is very common in any kind of running or walking shoe. The other thing that I'm not too big of a fan on with these is how narrow the toe box is. So this area up here where your toes are at inside of the shoe is called your toe box. Why is that important? Well, when your toes are in your shoe, they need to be able to spread out and push down into the ground. The digits on your feet are a lot like the digits on your hand. You need to use them individually. If you can imagine, if someone tied all your fingers together like someone who has toes that are cinched together, well, you're not going to be able to do much of anything, right? You won't be able to type. If you're a musician, you can't play an instrument. Imagine writing, literally doing anything with them, you would not be able to, just because they aren't able to spread out and do their own thing on their own. Your toes are the exact same way. They need to be able to spread out. They need to be able to push down into the ground individually. That will help all of the muscles in your feet flex, which will support your arch, supporting your ankles, knees, hips, low back, etc. The shoe that I would prefer to run in is the shoe that I have here called the Ultra Escalante. These shoes are incredible. They're marketed as a running shoe. You can use them to walk around in. You could even use them to work out in if you wanted to. But the thing about them, they have two parts that I really enjoy. The first one is that they're completely flat. There is no drop from the heel to the toe at all. So it's completely flat, like you're walking around barefoot. The other thing that I like about them is how wide this toe box is here. You can see if I put these shoes side by side, there's a dramatic difference in width in the toe box. If you look up here, this area all through here is much wider than this area is up here through here on the Nikes. On the Nikes, it's a little bit more of a triangular shape. This is a much wider kind of circular boxy shape. On these shoes here, when you are running in these, when you are walking in these, there's enough room in the toe box for each one of your toes to spread out and do their own thing individually. And if you can think about a sport like running, where every single time you plant down, you're planting 7 times your body weight onto your feet, you want to make sure that your toes can flex into the ground to support the arch on your foot, to support the rest of your body all the way up. A big problem with a lot of people who run with flat feet is that they eventually develop ankle issues, they eventually develop knee problems or hip problems, and it's because every time they take a step, they're literally collapsing in on themselves. So being able to have that toe spread inside of your shoe to help support your arch is a very fundamental thing. Now, the next area that I'm going to go over is when you are lifting weights. When you're lifting weights, there's a little bit less impact on your lower body unless you're doing like plyometrics where you're jumping around, but nonetheless it's very important to have a proper shoe selection for when you are working out. Most people that I see in the gym working out will use a shoe that is analogous to something like this. This is the brand Tom's. I don't have any Converse and I don't have any Vans to use for this, but these shoes are pretty much the same. I see a lot of people in the gym either squatting, deadlifting, or just working out in general wearing Vans or Converse. And the reason that they do it is because it has a flat sole, just like the Ultras, and it's a very hard sole. That makes it very easy for you to push down into the ground when you're squatting or when you're deadlifting. That makes a lot of sense actually, and they're not wrong to do that. However, where they go wrong is that these shoes like this, like Converse, like Vans, have even narrower toe boxes than a Nike would. So when they're lifting, their toes are even more scrunched together than they would be in wearing a shoe like a Nike. Okay, so that does not help you. When you're pushing down into the ground, doing a deadlift or doing a squat, it's very, very important that your toes are spread out, supporting all the muscles underneath your foot so that you're supported all the way up through your legs. Now, I have two brands of shoes that I like to lift in, and one of them is my own. The other one is my girlfriend's because I don't actually have a pair, but this brand here is called Merrell. These shoes have been beaten to hell by me because I lift in them all of the time. But what I like about these shoes is two things. One is they're completely flat. There's almost no sole in these shoes whatsoever. I mean, there might be like a half inch, maybe a quarter of an inch, but relatively speaking to other shoes, you might as well be walking around barefoot. The second thing that I like about them is they have that wider toe box here, much like the Ultras do. I'm trying to stretch them out so you guys can see that, but you can tell that it curves up and out a little bit here in the toe box, which gives you, I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of room for your toes to spread out. Now, the other brand of shoes that I would recommend people lift in if they have poor foot health and poor foot stability, so flat feet, toes scrunched together, is Nike Metcons. Okay, now these are my girlfriend's shoes, and look at how tiny they are. They're hilarious. But these shoes have a little bit wider of a toe box than most other Nikes do, and you can even get them in a wider size. I think Nike measures the width of their shoes with various letters, and I think E would be the widest. You'd probably have to order those custom on Nike.com, but you can definitely get these shoes wider. And the other thing too is that they're completely flat, no heel drop, and it's a very, very hard sole. So when you're squatting, when you're deadlifting, you can push down into the ground. You don't have to worry about pushing through some kind of cushion or anything like that. So overall, guys, what I want to really hammer home here is that the shoes that you select to run in, to work out in, or to walk around in your everyday life is very important, especially if you have flat feet or toes that are scrunched together. If you guys want to fix your flat feet, if you guys want to have more supportive feet and better joint health in your legs and into your hips and your low back, then you guys need to pay attention to your feet. And the best way that you can start to do that now is to change the shoes that you are walking around in currently. If they have a narrow toe box, if they have a big heel drop, you need to move away from those slowly and start getting yourself into shoes that have a wider toe box and are flat so that your toes can spread out and start building up the strength on the underside of your foot like they're supposed to have. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or leave a like on this video on Instagram. Thanks.